I'd like to call this meeting of the Tyler County Board of Education to order. The mission of Tyler County Schools is to provide student-centered learning opportunities that ensure all students will learn to their potential and master the skills, ethical behaviors, and attitudes needed to be successful citizens in a 21st century economy. Please rise for a moment of silence in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call. I am present. Mr. Strode is present by phone. Mr. Dill is present. Andy Shreves is absent, and Diana Stender is present. Mr. Hiley is also present.
Okay, C, approval of the July 6, 2026 regular meeting. Those were approved by the state. We have nothing other presentations, no delegations this evening or communications. Under superintendent's report, we're just getting ready for school. I mean, that's where we're at right now. It's coming on quickly. We're getting master schedules completed and kids signed up in classes, and we'll start putting that out on social media pretty soon, just when things start. But we do have a great opening day for teachers and staff that we've planned, and I've sent a letter and a schedule out to the staff members. We have a guest speaker who's coming. A couple of our people that we work with, McKinley and Associates and Rycon, are going to sponsor a food truck and a coffee truck for the staff that day.
That's nice.
So we're happy about that, and we're thankful that's going to happen. That morning we're going to do, the 13th, we're going to do staff pictures. We haven't done that in a while. Staff pictures for cards, and then just staff pictures as groups together. Then we have a presentation through Jimmy Casa Associates. His name is Jim Wichman. I'm excited to work with him, and he's kind of taken what we're looking at to move forward with, and kind of open up with teachers that day about it. Kind of about everyone rowing the boat in the same way, and we're all here for one purpose, and that's kids. So so that's where we're at with that, and we're excited to get started there. We're excited. You know, summer is a very busy time here at the central office, rolling everything over from the year before to the new year. But we're in a pretty good place right now, and we feel we're excited now to get people back in buildings and get to work. So, project updates: Tyler Consolidated Elementary School. We had a progress meeting last week. They've been doing a lot of the earthwork, and now they're cutting to grade, which means they're getting ready to they're getting the whole site to grade for to start the work with block work, foundation work. Big shipment of block or stone or wall. The retaining wall stuff is coming in this week, so we'll have that. So you're gonna you'll see a lot of progress up there, and get to see some actual building happening very soon. We're still on track for that completion in 2028. They still feel good about the opening that 2028-2029 school year in the new building. So it's a lot of work to do ahead of us, but we're excited. It's been an exciting ride for our teachers and administrative staff working together to try to create something that's going to be really, really good for our kids. So we're excited about that. But that's where we're at with the projects. Curricular updates. Nothing at this time. Any committee reports? Anyone? No?
We have not had one. I will say that a member of our library board passed away, and so Beverly Henderson. So it's so we've sort of taken a little break.
Gotcha. Staff reports, nothing under staff reports and finances. What I do have in front of you guys is a packet of our new policies, the zeros. And really what the zeros are the bylaws for the board. I've just marked a few that I feel are important. And like I said at the last meeting, what I plan to do with these new policies, and I've been talking with Mr. Winters, he's kind of our AI guru, using a closed AI to put these policies by section in, and then you guys will just be able to write, hey, you know, like, what textbook or how much homework is a kid allowed to have in 3rd grade? And it'll find that policy and give you that information instead of having to search and search and search. These are searchable, but it would be nice if you could ask it a specific question and it give you the specific answer from our policy, and that's the only thing that it pulls from. So that's what we're working on. But what I did today was I printed off the zeros for you. These are all the zeros. That first page you see there, the PO 100, these are just definitions that are used throughout our policies. So if there's any question like, you know, what is an instructional day? This is where you would find the definition to those words. And these are the main words that happen in the school system throughout. So that's those 5 pages there. If you ever have any question about that. The next one, and the one I have tabbed, is 0118, and it is the philosophy of the board. And so I think this is a big one for us because what it talks about is it's the board. The board will maintain two-way communications with the citizens of the county. The board shall keep them informed of problems in the school system, and the citizens shall be urged to bring their aspirations to occurrence back to the school system to the attention of this body. So that means if someone gives you some information, pass it on. That's pretty much what that means. And then establish policies and makes decisions on basis of declared educational philosophy and goals. That's very important. And then act as a true representative of the citizens. That pretty much says, you know, do what's best for the people and the kids of Tyler County. So that's what that is. Board powers is the next policy there that you see. It's pretty self-explanatory. You can read that one yourself. Member powers. That pretty much says, you know, as an individual, you don't have power as a board member. As a board, you have the power to do things, but as an individual member, you do not. If an individual board member inquires about information, it's my job as the superintendent to get you that information. So you are allowed to do that. So I keep flipping back through. There's the code of ethics for board members. It's very lengthy, so at any point anyone has a question, there it is in the zeros, the code of ethics, and what's expected. It is what you think it would be. We keep going. There's a section on legislative actions and executive actions. Don't really see that too awful much in dealing with the Board of Education. Then the judicial part of it. This next one, it talks about the promotion of school-based effectiveness. That's 0134. That's talking about LSIC meetings, and that's where we talked about having that showcase where all the schools are going to be at the same place and go, you know, have the opportunity to show you. But those LSIC groups will be. That's what that is referring to. As I keep going back through these zeros, it talks about conflict of interest. And pretty much what that says is if it's a conflict of interest for you or a business that you're associated with or an individual that you're associated with, just remove yourself from the situation. And that's the easiest. I mean, it's a 3-page policy, but that's the gist of it. Qualifications is the next zero. That tells you what you have to be a board member. So if someone says, well, what do I have to do to be a board member? Well, right here is where you can get that information. Orientation and training, you guys get a lot of that. You understand you have to have your hours and when they have to be in and why you have to do that. And then it talks about 0145, talks about filling a board vacancy. Hopefully that's something we don't have to do, but it goes through the process of what that looks like there, so you guys can read that. Resignation or removal, it's a short policy. It's just a removal of a member for misconduct in the office in accordance to the law. So that's, but we have to have a policy that talks about that. In zeros, you also have your compensation policy. It talks about what you can be paid for and the amount that you will be paid for each meeting, and up to how many board meetings we could have. We don't exceed the maximum ever, so that's a good thing. But that tells you what you can be compensated for. 0148 is public expression of members, and that's just, like campaign articles, position papers, things like that of candidates for the board. You can't, as a board member, promote any other board member, or you know what I'm saying. It's like you can't be out there promoting Donald Trump or anything like that. So that's kind of what that is, public expression of members. The next one is a big one, and it's board staff communications, and I think this is one we need to make sure that we understand and acknowledge, and we'll come back to, and I think it's worth more than just me skimming through the zeros to do. Yes. I think we'll come back to this board staff communications and really do a better training. I know that Rick Boothby, I think, was the one who went over it, maybe, or was it, yeah, Rick, and then Howard and Blaine had also, but I want to come back to that policy just to talk more about it. Access to records, what that says is, individual members of the board do not possess the power that reside in the corporate board of education, but no member of the board shall be denied documents or information in which he is legally entitled to. So again, this kind of says, if there's something that you want to see and you come in and say, I want to see it, as long as it's legal for me to give it to you, I should have to give that to you. That keeps us transparent, I guess.
Well, and I like the last paragraph too.
Yes.
Unlawful to improperly disclose confidential information.
Right. The next policy just pretty much tells us the notice of meeting. We put it in the Tyler Star News. We put it on the website. Yada yada yada. The process for board meetings is there. Then it goes on to public participation in board meetings. This is where we have our delegation time, how long you're allowed to speak during delegation. It also talks about, what regular board meetings are, what it means if it's an emergency board meeting, so on and so forth with that policy. Special meetings, virtual meetings, that talks a lot about virtual meetings, when and how you can do that, and that's what's in that policy.
That's so confusing.
It is.
The
Did
days
they do that during
change.
COVID? Did they do virtual meetings during COVID?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a couple, though.
Yeah, we were in person. Well, we were here. Most of the time. There were a couple virtual ones, though.
Yeah. Then the next policy talks about, which is 0166, executive session. And this lays out exactly what you can go into executive session for. So if there's a question and you think,
Where is it?
It's 0166.
Oh, got it.
Yep. And if there's any question about whether we can or we should or we shouldn't go into executive session, as you know, that's one of the things that the state talked about in the takeover process was excessive executive session. So we need to make sure that we understand what we can go in for and what we should go in for and what should be public knowledge. So
There's a little cheat sheet somewhere that has the 11 reasons, and I have it at home somewhere, and I always kept it in my folder because that way, if we went into executive session, you have all the reasons you're allowed to in front of you.
and that's what these A through.
Yeah, it's
Just
not as
no.
concise as what I had.
Right. It's a little more spelled out, I guess. So that's executive session. The next is the use of electronic mail. That could conflict. Since email is a form of communication that could conflict with the Sunshine Law, it will be used for communications with or among board members only for the purposes of communicating. So we don't make any decisions, of course, under email or, I like to send you guys updates. I'm never going to ask you guys to make a decision over those emails or messages that we share as information. I think I may have put that one in there twice on accident.
Yeah.
And then 0618 is the minutes. And so what everyone needs to know about this is, and the gist of it is, nothing is final in a board meeting until the minutes are voted and approved. So even if it comes to a meeting and the minutes have been approved, haven't been approved, things can be changed from the previous board meeting. So that's kind of a.
So like through a special meeting or?
Well, even if it needs to be like if someone's name is spelled wrong, or you know what I'm saying, like those kind of things can be done the day of.
Or something was left out that they.
Exactly. So that's what this policy says. Nothing is in stone until those minutes are voted on. So that's pretty much what that policy says. Public participation in board meetings. This again kind of outlines, what they can talk about, or what they, if there's more than one person talking about the same topic, we can ask them to kind of pull together and talk about that. Limit them to their time. And then once they're done speaking, if they're a delegation, then as a board, we're not to interact with them. Maybe say thank you or thank you for your time, but not interact or entertain questions that they may have. That's not the time or place for that. So just know that that's what that policy refers to.
Mr. Riley, since I got this last week when you
Yeah.
gave it to me, could you explain the letter J to me?
I hope.
Under, where it says the portion of the meeting.
The portion of the meeting during which the public. So like let's say we would have 10 delegations. So then they would be limited to 3 minutes. So they get 30 minutes of the board meeting instead of, if you have 15 delegations at 5 minutes, so it's limited to 30 minutes of public participation.
Okay.
Yep. I know other counties have done that and are doing that also. So,
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep.
That was one of the things that was brought up at our training.
Yep.
Yes.
And then the last one there under the zeros is the review of board policies, and that's, at any time if there's question or people bring something to you that is policy that they have question about, that's one of your roles is to create policy and to change policy and to vote on policy. So that's always a big deal when it comes to boards and what we can do. So that's a 500-mile overview of zeros. Again, what I would say is that I plan to put these, I'm learning some things. So my goal is we want to put these in Magic School, which is kind of one of the AI platforms that we utilize that's closed. And what you do is you create a chat bot for each of these sections, and then that chat bot can answer the questions from each section. So so if you have specific questions, and then it'll quote that code or that policy. So we want it to be as user-friendly as possible because policy is not user-friendly.
It isn't.
So it's hard. It's hard to follow. It's hard to find things. It's frustrating. You may think you have the answer to the question, but it doesn't answer it fully. Maybe in another policy. So we're excited to get that feature up and running for you all. So that's the zeros. Next time we'll make sure we'll dive into the 1000s, and some of these bigger groups we'll probably break into 2 board meetings when we get into 2000, 3000, when it's the programs and personnel and things like that, because it's too much for one. But we have not all year to implement them. We're already implementing them, but to train, I feel like we need to take our time and make sure the big ones we have, good grasp on. And the next meeting, I plan on just going over the one that we skipped over, and this one just more formal training.
So if we read through it and have any questions, we can give you a call.
Absolutely, give me a call, and we can talk about them at the next meeting for sure. And then the other thing that we're working on now is administrative guidelines, which are the administrative guidelines are what will make these policies work. So what that is that's You know, you got policy 0100. The administrative guidelines outline what that policy means to people and what you can do and what you can't do. Sometimes policy doesn't do that. So it'll be more apparent why you need those once you get into like the curricular parts of policies and the personnel parts of policies. These bylaws, there's probably not too many administrative guidelines. They're already spelled out for you. What I have done with those is Neola has sent me all those administrative guidelines. I've went through them all and kind of split them into sections. So if they were dealing with special ed, I gave them to Mrs. Walton. If they dealt with curriculum, I gave them to Mrs. Miller. If they dealt with personnel, I gave them to Mrs. Fillmeyer. So she's going to go through them, make sure they are what we want them to be, and then it's a little lengthier process than that, but I've just asked them when they have a couple minutes to look through one of the administrative guidelines and mark it up. Then what I'll do is go back and put it in Neola. They'll okay them, and then they'll be attached to these policies, so you'll be able to see those administrative guidelines. So there should not be any question of anything we're doing, because they all should be laid out in these administrative guidelines. So I'm excited for that process. Let's keep going. Under athletic schedules, you have the JV football schedule and the Tyler Consolidated High School golf schedule. We have great numbers for both of those teams this year so far.
That's what I've heard.
I think we have about 37 golfers, and we're, I would say, around 55 football players. So I'm real happy with that. They've been having great numbers in the summer. I know football has, and I know golf has been having kids out playing, and I'm excited to see what happens with those teams this year. The only problem with JV football is it's hard to find teams around that have JV football schedules now. So we've been able to get a few games in here and there. So approval of trips and requests, those have all been approved. Under personnel, we did have some resignations for different reasons, but we also have some employments to go along with those. So one note there, as you can see, we are moving forward with our daycare. And on B, I need to make sure this is noted in the minutes. She's not an ECAT, she's a preschool teacher that is moving. That's Stacy Kidder from her current position of ECAT. It should not say ECAT, it should say preschool teacher. She will be the new daycare lead teacher. So what we will have a lead teacher and two aides at our daycare. Mrs. Walton is working on scheduling kids. We're working all the paperwork with the state, so we are in good shape to get that up and running for our employees when school starts. It's been a long process, but I think it's going to be so beneficial for our staff that have kids and moving forward getting staff.
Is there a limit?
Yeah. So there is a limit of how many kids you can have, and I don't want to misspeak and say because you can have so many if they're under 2. You can have so many if you got.
Okay.
There's a
difference.
matrix, I guess is what you would call it. But Mrs. Walton has worked it out. Now, what's going to happen is some staff members may get to utilize the daycare 3 days a week and have to have setters too. But at least everyone who has asked is going to get some help in daycare. So we're excited for that. And when we move to the new school, the space is a bit bigger, so we'll be able to have a few more kids. So we're excited for that. We have paid the bills. We're good there. And then the next regular meeting will be August 3rd here at the board office.
Okay, so it is 7:24, and